Zoro takes on 3 admirals at once, Kizaru, Fujitora, and Ryokugyu. But what if his closed left eye was never a scar, but a devil fruit nobody knew he had? I wondered the same thing, so I wrote the story and animated it with AI, like it actually happened in one piece. Here's what went down. The moon above Wano split in 2 that night, not from a technique, from a single falling blade. Beneath that broken moon, 3 massive shadows lay still. The first shadow wore a shredded purple kimono. Its hand still gripped a useless white cane. The second shadow flickered like a dying yellow bulb. Dark glasses snapped clean across the lifeless face. The third was enormous, covered in withered green moss, one arm torn off at the elbow joint. Between them, one figure remained standing, hunched, bleeding. Green hair stuck to his forehead by blood. From his left eye escaped a golden line of light. Roronoa Zoro lifted his face toward the sky. He whispered one word the wind refused to carry. What he did would force the world government to act, erase the night of the 13th from every calendar. But to understand how one swordsman killed 3 admirals, we have to return to the morning before, when Zoro was still just a name on paper. The island was called Late Karakuri, a forgotten dot, a small fishing village with one white lighthouse. Zoro sat beneath a dried-out cherry tree, alone. 3 swords leaned against the gnarled wooden trunk. He never slept anymore. Sleep was too dangerous now. Dreams were the crack where the future slipped through. 2 years ago, he had eaten a strange fruit, the Mira Mira Nomi, found inside a tomb. But Zoro hunted it down for many long months. Swords cannot be upgraded, only the eye that guides them. The fruit granted vision a few seconds into the future, brief flashes of the enemy's next move beforehand. But the price of the eye was cruel. Every second of future, his body felt the pain, as if it had already happened to him, with blood, with bone-crushing iron in the mouth. That's why the left eye stayed forever shut. That's why the vertical scar sealed it closed. That morning, a black seagull dropped a scroll, sealed with the engraving of the 5 elders. 3 words written in red ink on yellow. It read, Roronoa, 3 are coming for you. Zoro knew exactly who all 3 of them were. 3 admirals, 3 pillars of the marine forces, sent together against one island, against one crew. Luffy was hunting boar in the northern forest, 2 hours before the admirals reached the beach. 2 hours to make himself the only target visible. Zoro stood up slowly beneath the dead cherry tree. He tied the black bandana around his head. He fastened the 3 swords to his waist and whispered to the silent wind, Today it opens. The cherry tree behind him lost every leaf instantly. He climbed toward the white lighthouse on the cliff, past an old fisherwoman gathering nets on the way, gave her a heavy bag with all his money, told her to evacuate the village toward the east. Hide the children in the cliffside caves immediately. From the lighthouse balcony, he watched the ocean. 3 black dots advanced at 3 different speeds. One flew low on a heavy stone cloud. Another crossed the water like a yellow lightning bolt. The third walked on the surface of the sea. That arrogance would be the crack Zoro survived through. He drew Wado Ichimonji from her sheath gently, held her before his eye like an old friend. Quina, he whispered, we're going to do something stupid. If I fail tonight, please forgive me, sister. The first admiral landed on the beach in silence. His stone cloud touched sand without raising any grain. Issho, Admiral Fujitora, the blind one with the cane, dressed in his torn purple ceremonial kimono robes. Fujitora took 10 steps across the empty beach. Roronoa Zoro, he said in his deep, educated voice, I came alone. My colleagues watch from far, out of respect for my own pride alone. Zoro descended the lighthouse steps without answering him, all 3 swords sheathed, left eye firmly shut. Fujitora raised his white cane toward the broken sky. The air pressure across the beach changed instantly. Every grain of sand began vibrating in rhythm. I'll be fair, said the blind admiral quietly. Crush you without meteors, just pure crushing gravity. He multiplied gravity over Zoro by 300. The sand beneath his boots sank 10 centimeters down. Zoro's right knee buckled under the crushing weight, but he clenched his teeth and stepped forward. Each step a war against his own body. Fujitora tilted his head, surprised by the sound. Good, the admiral murmured, and raised to 500. Zoro spat blood, veins on his neck like ropes. If you're going to kill me, said Zoro hoarsely, drop the meteors, make it worth my time. Fujitora laughed for the first time in years. A short laugh, dry, almost sad and grateful. He had finally found a real true duel. He lifted the cane high toward the heavens. The clouds above the island split open like wounds. 6 rocks the size of small towers descended, each meteor falling at an impossible burning speed, all aimed at where Zoro was pinned down. The swordsman closed his right eye instead of left, for the first time in 2 long years. He stopped looking at the present world entirely, and then he opened the left eye slowly. Just a millimeter, a golden slit cut the air. The world slowed, as if time itself hesitated. He saw the meteor before it even arrived. arrived. His body felt all 6 meteors crushing him already. His ribs cracked without being physically touched yet. The price of the cursed predictive golden eye. But the pain of the future was information, a map, an advantage worth bleeding heavily for. His arm drew Sandai Kitetsu in a flash. One rising cut split the first meteor apart. The rock opened like a giant ripe watermelon. Second meteor, Wado Ichimonji cut horizontally and clean. Third meteor, Enma drawn diagonal across the night. Fourth meteor, fifth, sixth, all 6 split apart. Wait, the 5th grazed his shoulder, tearing flesh. The eye had shown him the impossible choice. Ignore the 5th, cut the 6th hidden behind. His shoulder burned like dipped in molten iron, but no meteor crashed on the civilian sand. Fujitora took one slow step back, deeply unsettled. Impossible, he whispered to himself. Nobody reads meteors. What kind of Haki is that, Roronoa? Not observation. Your left eye, he said slowly to Zoro. It is not closed by injury, by choice. Zoro sheathed 2 swords, kept only Wado bare, walked through the field of split meteors slowly. Yes, answered the bleeding swordsman quietly. A choice, like yours, coming alone. Tonight, we all pay. Fujitora concentrated gravity into a near-solid blue sphere, a ball of force that could sink battleships. Last chance, Roronoa. Surrender or be treated as Yonku. Zoro took only 1 step forward, just one. His arm covered in deep liquid black Haki. Wado Ichimonji vibrated like an ancient tuning fork. Fujitora released the entire gravity sphere at him. The golden eye showed Zoro the trajectory immediately. Cut wrong and it bounces toward the village. Kills 200 people hidden in the caves. Cut precisely at 47 degrees, the exact center. All the pain hurt before it could exist, but he didn't fail. Wado split the sphere clean. 2 halves flew out toward the open sea. Fujitora lowered the white cane. His face changed, not serenity anymore. Respect mixed with deep fear. Roronoa, he said slowly, if I let you live, you will change this entire era forever, swordsman. And then the Admiral dropped his white cane, let it fall onto the bloody dark sand, advanced toward Zoro with empty armament-covered black fists. He charged at superhuman speed across the beach, first punch whistling through the cold night air. Zoro dodged by millimeters using the golden eye. 5th punch, direct impact, 2 ribs broken clean. Zoro thrown 3 meters back against a rock. He coughed black blood onto the dark sand, but he stood up, staggering. Wado still ready. Enough, Fujitora. If you kill me, use everything, or I'm going to do it to you. The Admiral stopped suddenly, 5 meters between them. Zoro raised Wado Ichimonji up with both hands, aimed her toward the broken moon high above. I won't kill you, said the swordsman quietly. I'm going to cut your sky in half. His conqueror's Haki awakened over the white blade, mixed with armament Haki, filtered through Kuina's sword. Fujitora formed a 1000G gravity shield around himself. Zoro lowered the sword. One single vertical cut. The air between them split into pure white light. The cut passed through the shield like wet paper, through Fujitora's right shoulder, torso, out the hip. The Admiral remained standing for 1 full second. Then slowly, the halves separated from each other. Blood burst forth like a crimson dark waterfall. Fujitora fell to his knees on the sand. Zoro sheathed Wado and knelt down beside him, placed a hand on the Admiral's bleeding shoulder. Issho-san, Zoro whispered softly, close your eyes now. You fulfilled your duty fully. No need to suffer. I'll handle the other 2, for your honor. The blind Admiral smiled for the last time, not in any defeat, but in deep relief. Someone had finally beaten him correctly, with honor. Beware of Sakazuki were his very last words. He doesn't play like me. He has no honor. And tell Kuina her disciple gave me justice. He closed his eyes. The first Admiral had fallen. From the sky, 2 lights blinked with rage, one yellow, one green, both descending toward him now. Kizaru descended first, like a streaking yellow lightning bolt, crossed the atmosphere leaving a long scar of light, landed 20 meters away from Fujitora's lifeless body, adjusted his dark glasses, sighed long and very tired. Issho, he said quietly, I told you to wait, friend. I told you that the kid was different, but you were always so stubborn, my dear old friend. He looked up at Zoro, panting and very bloody. Roronoa, said Kizaru, lazily chewing his wooden toothpick, and that we cannot ever forgive, green-haired swordsman. Ryokugyu shouted from afar in a deeply bored tone, Borsalino, just kill him fast. I want breakfast. 2 minutes, the Yellow Admiral promised quite lazily. He is just a tired swordsman, his eye fading, and it was indeed true. The gold eye blinked. Each prediction cost him anticipated physical body pain, but Zoro just smiled, a small, almost tender smile. 2 minutes, he said quietly. Mihawk once said that, the first time I ever crossed blades with him. Wado Ichimonji aimed at the Admiral's exposed throat. Kizaru also moved fast, at the speed of light, but the golden eye had seen the trajectory first. Wado against a fierce yellow photon kick from above. The sonic boom shattered every window in the village. Zoro flew violently backward, bouncing across the sand. Kizaru landed gently again, adjusting the dark glasses. Roronoa, you are very fast, but light is faster. A yellow ball of concentrated photons sprouted, vibrating. Yasakani no Magatama, whispered the yellow admiral quietly. 1,000 simultaneous light beams flew straight at Zoro. The golden left eye glowed like never before. 1,000 light needles crossing through his chest. His body bent forward. He fell to his knees. Blood spurted from his nose, his ears, mouth, but his right arm still moved like never before. Wado Ichimonji became a white windmill of pure defense. Each single light beam deflected before it touched him. When it was finally over, Zoro was still alive. Kizaru blinked slowly. For the first time ever, his Yasakani Magatama had never failed before tonight. Impossible, Kizaru said. No Haki reads photons that fast. Zoro stood up slowly, with blood streaming down. I ate a fruit nobody else wanted, Zoro answered, but I used it like absolutely nobody expected. That, Borsalino, makes all the difference in the world. And then he charged forward, on foot, no tricks left. Kizaru turned his entire body into pure light, moved a full 100 meters in one instant, appeared behind Zoro with a deadly yellow kick. The golden eye had shown it 3 seconds early. Enma rose vertically up, cut the light leg clean. The leg dispersed into yellow particles like floating pollen. Kizaru landed on just one leg, surprised completely. 2 seconds in which Zoro was already on him, onigiri. 3 deep cuts in a perfect cross. All 3 blades hit Kizaru's chest at once, but the Admiral's body was light, not human flesh. The 3 swords passed through without cutting anything. Kizaru smiled from inside his own yellow glow. Light cannot bleed, swordsman. Your golden eye useless. Zoro retreated 3 steps back, breathing like bellows. The golden left eye burned like a hot coal. Logia fruits do not cut with ordinary steel. He needed armament Haki at its very highest level, and he needed something more, something entirely new now. He remembered something Mihawk had once told him at Utopia Castle over red wine many years ago. There is a higher level of Haki, the master said, where the blade cuts neither living flesh nor Haki. It cuts the very living concept of the enemy. Zoro had never quite achieved that highest level until that exact night, beneath that broken silver moon. He closed the golden left eye for the first time, voluntarily this time. The golden glow shut off entirely. He needed to stop seeing the future for once. He needed to feel the bleeding present instead. Hear the heartbeat of Kizaru's living body itself, not his next move. His own living concept alive. Kizaru attacked again. A rain of yellow light kicks. Zoro did not see them, only felt them coming. The Admiral stopped attacking him, suddenly very confused. Something had fundamentally changed in the green-haired swordsman. The air around Zoro was completely dead still now. Then Zoro opened both his eyes at once. The right one normal, the left golden, pulsing. All 3 swords now covered in vibrating black Haki. A blend forged over 2 long years of meditation. The Haki that cuts concept itself, never just flesh. The one that separates a man from devil fruit. Itoryu Yai, Zoro whispered quietly to the night. He appeared on the other side of Kizaru. Wado was sheathed again, the Admiral still standing. Then slowly, Kizaru's body stopped glowing yellow entirely. His skin remained human now, vulnerable, mortal, exposed. Kizaru looked down at his own hands, astonished. What did you do to me? Where is my fruit? Why can't I turn into pure light anymore? I did not cut your body, said Zoro coldly. I cut your devil fruit from your soul. You are no longer Pika Pika no Mi, just an old admiral now, just Borsalino tonight. The silence that followed was the deepest one yet. Something entirely new had been born this night. Kizaru tried hard to move at light speed. Nothing happened at all. He tried to fire Yasakani. Nothing happened again. He was now just a man, and a mere man against Zoro had no chance. No matter how many medals hung from his uniform, his whole career, his choices, his ego, his pride. You are right, Roronoa, he said, almost whispering. I am an old man. Old men end standing tall. Dialed a number, Sakazuki answered hoarsely from far. Akainu, said Kizaru calmly. I will die tonight. Call Garp, have him watch over the straw hat, and tell old Sengoku I lost with full dignity. End it fast, swordsman. I do not like pain. Zoro drew Wado Ichimonji and raised her high. The cut was clean, horizontal, exact, final, done. Admiral Kizaru fell without even a single extra sound. The second Admiral had finally died on the sand, and Zoro was at his absolute breaking limit, bleeding from 6 wounds, his lungs on fire. He fell down to his knees on the sand, the golden left eye closed by itself, exhausted. Above him, Ryokugyu still sat on his root. His lazy, bored expression had completely vanished now. He looked down at his two fallen colleagues below and looked at Zoro kneeling there, almost a corpse. Aramaki finally smiled, a slow, wide, cold smile. Finally my turn now, and it will be easy. Ryokugyu finally came down on his floating wooden throne, 30 long years without eating a single solid meal. His mori-mori fruit absorbed life itself from anything. He sat on his wooden throne, crossed his legs, looked at Zoro kneeling there with cold disdain. "Roronoa," said Aramaki in a slow, lazy voice, "I will be honest. I didn't want to come, but what you did tonight, I must admit it. Truly impressive. 2 admirals in one single night. Not even Pirate King Roger ever did that. But there is a key difference between them and me. They fought you fully believing they would be stronger. I fight you while knowing that you are stronger, and that is exactly what will make me win." Zoro tried hard to stand. He could not. His legs no longer even responded to him. The golden left eye bled without him opening it. Aramaki rose slowly, walked toward the fallen swordsman. "My trick is very simple," the admiral said softly. "I touch any living being and suck its life. In seconds, you're left completely bone dry. But with you, I will be generous tonight. I want you to feel every single minute slowly." He stretched his right arm toward Zoro's exposed body. Green roots sprouted from the admiral's outstretched fingertips, and around his exposed, bleeding, defenseless neck, too. The green roots began to drain him slowly. Zoro's skin slowly started losing all its color, and the golden left eye went out completely. For the first time all night, real fear came. Not fear of dying, fear of Luffy finding him dead, fear of Nami crying silently for weeks afterward, of Sanji seeking vengeance and dying trying alone, of never seeing his Nakamas gathered together again. And that human fear kept him conscious somehow. Then he suddenly remembered something from the morning, what the old fisherwoman had quietly whispered to him. "When nothing else remains, look at your other eye. Not the golden left one, the natural right one." Zoro finally understood the truth in that exact moment. All night, 3 admirals had watched the closed left eye. They watched his golden eye, his future eye. But absolutely nobody had looked at the other one, the right eye, the natural, normal human one, the one that saw only the present, the now, because the future can always be calmly predicted. But the present can only ever be truly lived. He sealed the golden left eye completely shut, left only the right eye wide open now, and looked at Aramaki, the real present Aramaki, not the future Aramaki, the arrogant present one. And what he saw gave Zoro the answer. He saw the admiral's boredom, contempt, his ego. He saw the roots had one single weak point, a central knot right at the right elbow joint. Aramaki, far too arrogant, had left it exposed. Zoro did not need his swords or his hands. He did not need the golden eye for this. He only needed something no one had ever considered. Teeth, just teeth, with armament Haki on them tonight. He raised his neck with the very last strength, and he bit down with absolutely everything inside. Teeth pierced green skin, pierced living flesh and bone, tore off Aramaki's right elbow completely from him. In just one single brutal, beastly, inhuman bite, Aramaki screamed for the first time as an adult. Green blood spurted from his arm like tree sap. The roots draining Zoro suddenly released him completely. The central knot had been completely severed clean. Zoro spat the green elbow onto the bloody beach. His pale skin slowly returned to its normal color. He needed only the right eye for this one, only the present moment, only his 3 swords. He stood up, staggering hard, picked up Wado, picked up Sandai Kitetsu, and finally Enma, too. All 3 swords vibrated. Their owner had returned. Aramaki backed up 3 terrified, shaking, quick steps, his mutilated arm bleeding, his ego completely shattered, bitten like a wild dog by a half-dead pirate. "Roronoa," the Green Admiral shouted with absolute fury. "How dare you? I am a Marine Admiral, monster. You cannot just bite an admiral. That isn't done." Zoro looked at him with a terrible, cold calm, a calm that gave more fear than any rage. "The ego of the strong ones," said the swordsman, "is the very same sword that always kills them. You came tonight to show off, not to fight. Show-offs always die, bitten by half-dead, bleeding pirates." Aramaki raised his only good arm toward the ground. The whole sand trembled. Thick roots began to sprout, forming a giant tree, fully 100 meters tall. Branches covered the whole beach like a closed dome. The leaves released paralyzing yellow spores falling down. Zoro breathed them in slowly. His legs trembled hard, but the golden left eye stayed completely firmly closed, because Zoro had decided something very important now: to fight Aramaki only as a human, without tricks, without the future eye, without any predictive advantage. Aramaki was the only admiral who deserved this fate. He had despised Zoro the whole time from above. He needed to learn humility before dying tonight, and that was the decision decision that changed everything. You are blind, Roronoa, Aramaki said with contempt. Your right eye sees nothing in this spore fog. Zoro did not answer. He raised the three swords. Wado in the mouth, Sandai Kitetsu in the left, Enma in the right. The traditional Santoryu stance. Aramaki charged at him with a giant spiked root arm, aimed straight at Zoro's chest like a lance. Zoro did not dodge. He received it with Enma. The main root pierced his left shoulder very deep, 2 centimeters of vegetal hard steel inside him, but he did not retreat. He pushed forward instead. An exchange. Own flesh for crucial distance gained. Aramaki tried to retract the root. He could not. Zoro held it firm, pulling himself forward grimly. And then Zoro read something with his right eye. Something only the present right eye could read. The giant tree was affecting its own creator. Aramaki was not actually immune to his own spores. He only believed he was, purely out of arrogance. Zoro had carefully counted on that exact arrogance. He let the spores enter both of them slowly. A shared sacrifice. A very silent, patient trap. Zoro finally reached 1 meter of striking distance. First cut. Wado horizontal, freeing his trapped shoulder. Blood spurted out, but the blade was now free. Second cut. Sandai Kitetsu vertical, aimed toward chest. Third cut. Enma diagonal across the green chest. Opened his left pectoral from the collar to rib. Fourth cut. Wado came against the only good arm. Opened a deep gash from the elbow to wrist. Aramaki fell down backward. The giant tree wobbled. Through the dome cracks, the moon shone in again. Aramaki tried hard to stand up. He could not. His body was vegetal, more receptive, more vulnerable. Roronoa, he whispered up from the cold ground. You are the first in 40 years to bleed me. Why all 3? Asked the Admiral, dying slowly. Why not run? Your captain knew nothing of this. Zoro looked at him, then up at the sky, because someone had to stop you all 3. If you reached Luffy, you would have killed him, and the world needs to change real soon. My captain is the only one who changes it. I am just the sword that opens his way. Tonight, I open the way. Nothing else more. Aramaki smiled weakly, a small, almost envious smile. You are a good swordsman, a better Nakama still. Mihawk must be very proud of you tonight, Roronoa. Zoro raised Wado Ichimonji up one last time, brought down the cut, clean, vertical, final, done. And the third Admiral died without another single sound. The giant tree collapsed down, branches fell like bones. The yellow spores scattered out in the sea wind. The full moon illuminated the entire battlefield again, and then the heavy silence came down hard. It was the deepest silence the island ever heard. Zoro remained standing in the center of it, alone, 3 swords still drawn, his shoulder still bleeding. Around him, 3 corpses lay on the dark sand. Fujitora cut diagonally in his torn purple kimono. Kizaru without his glasses, his chest opened wide. Aramaki split in 2 by the very last cut. 3 pillars of the marine forces, all fallen. 3 men who once walked Mary Joyce proudly. 3 corpses beneath 1 broken silent silver moon, and 1 single swordsman still standing in silence. Roronoa Zoro, the Sunny's silent second in command, the disciple of Kuena, the silent shadow of Luffy. The sea wind finally returned again to the beat. Zoro slowly sheathed the 3 swords, one by one. He walked slowly toward the collapsed lighthouse, exhausted, picked up Fujitora's white cane on the way there, placed it crossed over the blind Admiral's still chest, picked up Kizaru's broken dark glasses from sand, placed them gently over the yellow Admiral's closed eyes, so the moon would not touch his face directly, did nothing for Aramaki, absolutely nothing at all, pulled out the bottle of sake from the morning, uncorked it slowly, took 1 long burning drink. It reminded him he was somehow still alive. Far away in the northern forest, Luffy shouted, a shout of pure joy. He found a boar. Zoro smiled softly. His captain hadn't noticed anything, Chopper either. None of his Nakamas had known. That was exactly what Zoro wanted from the start. Carrying 3 dead admirals was his own job alone, not the captain's job, not the doctor's, only his, the job of the Sunny's first swordsman alone. He pulled out the seagull's morning scroll again, threw it down onto the dark sand below. Whoever had sent him the warning had vanished. But Zoro suspected something as he drank again. Only 1 single man could have sent that warning. Mihawk, he whispered down to the sake bottle. Old Seawolf, you knew they were all coming. You did not fight for me. You gave time. Far away at Utopia Castle, Mihawk raised his wine, toasted the disciple who exceeded all his expectations. The first to kill 3 admirals in 1 single night. On the horizon, a large dark shadow approached fast. Akainu's personal vessel, 5 marine battleships behind it. The fleet admiral himself had come in person. Old Magma Man, you are late, said Zoro quietly. A smaller ship with a familiar wooden lion head. The Thousand Sunny had returned just for him. Nami was the first to step on the sand, saw the 3 admiral bodies, covered her mouth. Robin right behind her went completely silent and pale. Frankie dropped the heavy tool he was carrying. Chopper came running fast, then froze when he saw, and last of all, Luffy came from the forest. With the dead wild wild boar on his shoulder, smiling, hungry, without any idea of what happened. "Zoro," said the captain quietly while approaching him, "what happened? And who are those 3 men?" "3 old men who got a bit too smart," Zoro answered. "They wanted to ruin your night completely tonight. I told them no. They simply did not listen." Luffy looked at the bodies and recognized 2 of them, Fujitora, Kizaru, 3 admirals fallen by his only swordsman. He did not say anything for a long while. Zoro returned the gaze with an absolute calm. Luffy sat down next to him on the stone, asked for a sip of sake completely silently. They drank together in absolute silence beneath the moon, captain and swordsman together, 3 admirals dead nearby. Nami finally broke the silence with hard urgency. "Akainu is coming. 5 battleships, 1 hour out." Luffy nodded slowly, but turned to Zoro first. "I am fine, Captain. Just need to sleep. 3 days, maybe 4. Please don't bother me." Luffy patted the healthy shoulder gently just once, stood up fast, and shouted to his entire crew, "Sonny, to sea now. Akainu wants us all dead." Robin stayed behind a few more seconds longer, walked toward Fujitora's still body, and knelt down, whispered an ancient prayer from the dead void century. Then she looked over at Zoro across the deck. Robin was the only one who truly fully understood, and the Sunny set sail toward the horizon. The old fisherwoman came out of the cave finally, approached the 3 bodies on the still burning sand. She recognized Aramaki from a forgotten old war, whispered the name of her own dead son aloud. Killed 30 long years ago under that admiral. That was why she had given Zoro her money, why she had whispered about the right eye, a silent vengeance through someone else's blade tonight. Akainu finally reached the island 2 hours later. Then he finally gave his orders to the troops. Burn the whole beach. Erase every single trace. Erase this entire island from the marine calendar. The night of the 13th simply never existed. Marine warships bombed the beach into molten glass. The 3 bodies fully evaporated in the heat. But before evacuation, the fisherwoman whispered a story aloud. And that woman then told it to another, and the story slowly began to travel by sea, reached port taverns, reached pirate ears across the world. One night, beneath a broken silver pale moon, one green-haired swordsman killed all 3 marine admirals, with 3 blades and just 1 golden eye. Nobody could ever prove it. Everyone believed it, because Sakazuki never again sent admirals out in groups. On every new bounty poster across the New World, beneath Roronoa Zoro's name appeared one single word: dangerous. But that was not the real word. The real word no bureaucrat ever dared write down, worthy of being feared by the entire whole world. On the Sunny, Zoro slept 4 full straight days. Chopper had carefully stitched up the 6 wounds. Nobody ever asked what truly happened that night. The whole crew understood it all wordlessly, somehow. On the 4th long day, Zoro finally woke up, asked that Luffy enter alone, just the 2 of them. "Captain," said Zoro slowly to his closest friend, "I made a promise to you many years ago. Nothing will ever touch you while I still breathe. Tonight, I finally fulfilled that promise to you." Luffy looked out the small window in silence. "I know. I have always known it, Zoro. That is why I chose you first as Nakama. When you become the strongest swordsman in the world, I will be the one to hand you the cup. Not Mihawk, not anyone else. Just me, your captain." Zoro smiled softly, closed both eyes, slept again. Outside, the Sunny sailed onward toward a new island, toward the next great adventure of the dream, but no member of the crew ever again. Above them, the moon split again, very slightly. Cracks in the one-piece sky never appear randomly. Something entirely new was already approaching them now. Zoro noticed it instantly, closed the left eye, whispered one final true and short phrase aloud. "The ego of the strong ones is the sword, the same sword that always kills them in time. Nothing important, my captain, just talking to the moon." The captain laughed loud, a clean child's laugh. Above them, 3 empty uniforms waited somewhere on the sea, for 3 new men who did not know yet